Alright, like always, let's begin with Digi-Egg cards. Still running the 4 copies of Starter Deck Narumon from the Mastemon one, and this one is mainly just because we have when attacking, we can draw and trash one as long as we have yellow Digimon in play. Being able to pick and choose cards from our hand to set up for the trash is actually still really crucial, and usually we want to keep our stack alive, which is why I think this is a fantastic egg to definitely run, but we have some other suggestions later on as well as we keep going. Now let's talk about our rookies. First and foremost, 4 copies of the brand new Salamon from EX6. This one can gain you memory at the start of the main phase as long as you have a purple Digimon. Really great for helping you extending a bit more plays during your turn. And with its inheritable, you can minus 2000 DP to something to get rid of smaller things or weakening your opponent's Digimon so you swing over it as well. Now we got the BT16 Salamon right here. Mainly, that's also the reason why we're playing Narumon, because we can Digivolve on top of it for 0 cost. And with its starter main phase and on-play effect, as long as it's your turn, you can Digivolve this card into a level 4 that is a Holy Beast or free in its traits from the trash, and you get to reduce the cost by 1, meaning you can actually go into your Gatomon, which is always fantastic. Otherwise, with its inheritable, as you stack it up, you get to minus 3000 DP to your opponent's security Digimon during your turn, and all of them as well. So this is a fantastic other secondary one, which is from BT16 that we definitely want to see as much as possible. Now let's go into our level 4s, which is more of a core. Still running the good old Mastemon Starter Deck Gatomon, just an incredibly effective card. Super great value when you're on play it, which is what you always want to prioritize on, just because you can search top 3, grabbing a yellow card and a purple card, also grabbing double color stuff, which is always going to be really good at hits, and it helps you reduce your Digivolution cost by 2 when you go into your Anguamon, Lady Devimon. That's the main goal, and inheritable of end of turn DNA is still always fantastic because that classic combo is still incredibly useful and valuable. Now with our newer Gatomon here with EX6 that we're also running is also really good because it's also our other main dedicated searcher. This one can search when you Digivolve or on play it, and it only has 4 costs, which makes it even cheaper. By Digivolving or hard playing it, you get to search the top 3, and then you get to grab a Angel, Archangel, or Fallen Angel trait Digimon from them, and 1 Mirai as well. Before, there was never ways to search Mirai, but this completes it and fulfills that role fantastically, which is why you definitely want to see this as often as possible alongside with your other Gatomon as much as possible too. And when attacking, also just like the other Salamon from EX6, minusing 2k DP to one of your opponent's Digimon so that you can take things out, smaller rookies, and so on. And then for another Gatomon, playing 1 copy of the BT16 as my own tech. It has barrier, it can Digivolve for 2 on top of Salamon for memory efficiency, and by playing it or Digivolving into it, you get to trash 1 card from your hand, and you get to grab 1 level 6 or lower Digimon card from your trash back to your hand as long as it's 2 colors, which is either red or purple. This is exceptionally good to help you grab Mastemon back from your trash if you don't have access to it, so I definitely really like it for sure. And it has that inheritable of minusing 3000 DP to all your opponent's security Digimon as well. And then to round up for all the level 4s, still got the 2 copies of Black Gatomon just because we can have the rush for the attack. I like to have the aggression, helps close out games because you can play this Digimon out with Mastemon, and then with Mastemon, you can always just go for that extra attack, and retaliation is kind of nice, but yeah, always a really good rush for game to finish it off. Then we have level 5s. I'm running 3 copies of the all-new Anguamon. It has on play and when Digivolving. If you have a Mirai in play, you get to minus security 2 to one of your opponent's Digimon. If you don't have a Mirai, you get to play 1 Mirai from your hand. And this is one of the key cards that the deck was missing the entire time, is ways to play out your Mirais for free. And with this brand new Anguamon, it's just absolutely fantastic. And then with its inheritable, your turn while this Digimon has Angel, 3 great angels in its traits, it gains Alliance as well, so you can go for double checks, increases DP, so you're really strong with your top end stack as you attack into your opponents overall. Then for the other Anguamon, we're still going for the good old classic BT11 one, just for Digivolving to search your security stack, grabbing anything that's Angel, Archangel, or Fallen Angel in its traits specifically, and if you grab something, you get to recover 1. Otherwise, with its secondary effect, lets you gain a memory back whenever you play a Lady Devimon or a Mirai as well, and inheritable, giving everything that you have on your board blocker for defensive capabilities is really crucial. Then I'm also taking in 1 copy of Anguamon Ace. Always just really great to counter your opponents when you have a Gatomon on board if they try to attack and disrespect it, but also, you know, manipulating your security a little bit, trashing your own stuff, recovering, minusing 6,000 DP to your opponent's Digimon, and it's also just a 4-cost hard play. Sometimes you might have a Lady Devi on board already, and then you have enough memory to start off. You can just hard play this Angelomon for 4, retain your turn if you have that memory, and then you can just go ahead and DNA into a Mastemon if needed to, without giving your opponent too much memory. Otherwise, if you have an end of turn, just as efficient as well to DNA. Then for Lady Devimon, playing 3 copies of the new one, itself has retaliation and has a very similar effect to the new Angelomon, which helps you play a Mirai. Now with on play or when digivolving, if you have a Mirai to begin with, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon that's level 4 or lower. If you don't, this time you get to play a Mirai back from your trash. This really synergizes and helps really greatly to the whole reason why we play Narrowmon, because with Narrowmon and we have a Mirai in our hand, we can always use the Narrowmon Inheritable to trash away the Mirai and then somehow get into the Lady Devimon afterwards to play the Mirai back from trash. And with its all turns effects, as long as this Digimon has Angel or 7 Greek Demon Lord in its trait, it gains Scapegoat. Scapegoat is a brand new keyword and mechanic introduced for purple. What it does is that when this Digimon would be deleted other than by one of your effects, you get to delete one of your other Digimon instead to prevent the deletion, giving it protection, which is always really good. Then we have the older Lady Devimon from BT11 as well, kind of the mirror of the Angelomon, which we saw earlier. When digivolving, you get to trash 1 card from your hand to grab pieces back that you need from the trash specifically that's Angel related. And then as long as you're playing a Angelomon, you get to gain a memory back as well, or Mirai as well. And then its inheritable is during the opponent's turn. As long as you have a yellow Digimon, you give all your Angel related stuff retaliation, which is always really, really tricky, especially alongside when you synergize with the blockers. Then to round up for the level 5s, got 2 copies of the brand new Lucemon Chaos mode right here. You really want to just synergize and play it with Mastemon, specifically the old one, just because that's the only way to sort of bring this guy out mainly. But on play or when digivolving, your opponent will have to make a choice. Either they delete one of their Digimon or Tamers. If they didn't delete anything, they trash a security and you get to recover a security. That's basically how you mainly want to play this. It has a secondary effect that synergizes with the whole Lucemon mechanic and all that, but we don't play enough Lucemons in this deck anyways to utilize that, so that's totally fine. But yeah, really, really good card now. The new one that you can go for to sort of gain advantages different ways and force your opponents to make unfavorable decisions and choices from there. All right, that's it for level 5s. Let's talk about our level 6s. Where of course, let's talk about the brand new Mastemon Ace. Now this introduces a whole new DNA blast mechanic, which what it does is that it's also a hand counter, kind of like a Blast Digivolution Ace card, just like you guys are most familiar with. But aside from just DNA with any yellow level 5 or any purple level 5, you can specifically Blast DNA Digivolve with a Angelomon and a Lady Devimon as long as you have one or the other in the board and the other in your hand. Of course, Mastemon Ace needs to be in your hand as well, so that you need to fulfill all that 3-card combination and requirements to get into this as soon as your opponent's attack during the counter timing. Now, once you play this Digimon out or when you Digivolve into it, you get to play one level 5 or lower Angel, Archangel, or Fallen Angel from your hand or trash without paying the memory cost. Then if you DNA Digivolve, you get to place one other Digimon to the bottom of the owner's security stack. It can be your own or it can be your opponent's, which ideally you want to send your opponents away so then you can basically get it removed and you can essentially get rid of any Digimon on the board. Afterwards, you trash the top card of your opponent's security stack until they have 4 left. Meaning that if they have 5, you're basically getting rid of something and you're getting the information and you know what's at the bottom off of this as well, which is really cool card, really, really nice. The only downside is that you cannot play Lucemon Chaos Mode off of this. Keep in mind, it has to be Angel. And Lucemon is not an Angel related trait, which a lot of us might get confused just because it looks like an angel. But anyways, speaking of angels, if you haven't done so yet, be sure to grab the Space Time Angel playmat right now on the AVAULT store, and I greatly appreciate the support from all of you guys as well. But here we are with the other Mastemon that we want to continue to talk about. We still want to play the good old one from the starter deck itself. Now, as we all know, DNA with a yellow 5 and a purple level 5. When we Digivolve, we can place a Digimon from our trash that's yellow or purple back to the top of our security stack. If we DNA Digivolve, we can search the security stack and play it out. This is the key card that we can actually synergize with Lusamon Chaos Mode, because this one doesn't have any angel restriction. This is any level 5 purple or yellow Digimon, and that's where the Lusamon Chaos Mode fits in perfectly along with this card. And then once we get to play that out, we can use the Lusamon's effect, shuffle our security stack as well, and then we get to pop something with Lusamon, forcing our opponent to choose. And then we also get to use the secondary effect of Mastemon as well to pop one of their level 5 or lower, because we played out the Lusamon Chaos Mode, which is a level 5. So yeah, really cool card. Still really important to have for sure. Having the balance and mixture of both new and old Mastemon is just incredibly crucial for the deck to give you different tools for your victory. Anyways, now let's talk about level 7s. Of course, I still like to include Ordinmon here just because you can always sometimes DNA with 2 level 6s with basically 2 of your Mastemons together to come out. And if your opponent has an incredibly wide board, you almost basically just wipe everything out, recover a ton of security as well at the same time. And it has the floating capabilities of on deletion, which definitely comes up every now and then, depending on the matchup that you're playing against. And then for the other one, I'm running Rune Mode as well, just because Rune Mode is just an incredibly powerful staple to have. After all, we are playing a purple and yellow based deck. It only makes sense to include it as well. But if you guys are looking for budget alternative and options, definitely stay tuned for the tech choices, as I have other cards that you guys can be playing instead of this particular card either. And then we have Tamers. Of course, we have to talk about the brand new Mirai right here. Now, what this new Mirai does is that when you play a Holy Beast, Archangel, or Fallen Angel, you get to suspend this Tamer to gain a memory. So it's really good synergy even with your Gatomon. When you play Gatomon, you get to gain a memory back. Then one of your Digimon can Digivolve into Angelomon or Lady Devimon in the trash with the Digivolution cost reduced by 1. By going into your level 5 from this effect, you can immediately threaten the Blast Ace DNA combination. But that's not all. It also gives you end of turn capabilities to DNA Digivolve both your Digimon right away, instead of necessarily needing it in your inheritables such as the older Gatomon. And this gives you a lot of versatility with this new Mirai. It is a 4 cost, so it's a little bit cheaper to play, but we still, of course, must have the old one. This can actually synergize with the new one together very well, because if you only have one Digimon, as soon as you play your Gatomon, you can Digivolve to level 5, and then so on, and continue combos, which I'll show you guys in the combo segment too. But the old one just continues to give us so much value because we're constantly gaining a memory at the start of our turn no matter what. And then when we Digivolve into Lady Devimon or Angelomon, as long as that's the only Digimon on the board, we can play out the other one for free from our hand and continue to go with really crazy combos for sure. And this one's the one I always like to prioritize to play out as soon as possible and then play out the other one. But work with whatever you have. Last but not least, we just got the classic Chaos Degradation, 2 copies of it as our main security removal. And with Mastemon, this is its signature move, so we get to send opponent's Digimon to the top or bottom security stack and trash it as well. And then, you know, security effect is just always great to disrupt the opponents and surprise them. Alright, tech cards. As for another Digi-Egg that you guys can be running is Caramon, which is very suited with a more yellow focused rookie lineup, so you can Digivolve on top of it instead of like just playing around the Nyaromon. But this mainly gives you jamming, which can so that you can swing to your opponent's security a little bit more aggressive, which is always fantastic just because you don't have as much DP power when it comes to this deck. Other Lusamon you can play, of course, the new EX6 Lusamon. You can hard play this for effectively 5 costs, as long as you don't have a level 5 or lower Digimon. And then by playing it, you get to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You get to grab any Angel or Archangel, or 3 Great Angels, or 7 Great Demon Lords. So this is mainly to help you surge your Angels. If I would suggest, this is a really nice one-off tech every now and then, because you can continue to filter and cycle through your deck. It's not only just on play, it's also your start of main phase, which is always going to be really valuable, and itself is 10k. And if you also play the new Chaos Mode, this can synergize quite nicely in clutch situations, because with its end of turn effect, you can just place one level 6 Digimon that you have to the top of security stack, and then you can immediately just Digivolve into a Chaos Mode from the trash without paying the cost, and you can go for that kind of 2-card combo, which is kind of neat as well. Then speaking of Lusamon Chaos Mode, sometimes, you know, having the older one is still really nice just because this one can selectively, directly choose anything to be deleted. You can either delete your opponent's Tamer, or you can straight up just delete anything that's level 6 or lower, which is always fantastic. And yeah, this is more of a classic combo that I still like as well with the classic Mastemon. For another Angelwomon, I do like aggression a lot, so I think having this as a one-off is not bad either, just because it can kind of serve the somewhat purpose to give your opponent something, you know, minus security 2 with its on-play effect, and then with its inhurtable mainly, you get security +1, so you don't really necessarily need to alliance with it, and you can just immediately do 2 checks with your Mastemon as well, which I definitely like to help push games. Of course, there's still Ophanimon Fall Down Mode, which is always a fantastic card to help you play stuff back, recover, you know, just making sure that you're digivolving up with 2 color cards as you're going through, just to ensure that you have purple and a yellow source underneath it. And then with its on deletion, you always get to float a level 4 body back, which is always kind of nice to have for sure as a good old classic. With the other option, you can also run Flame House Scythe just to play things back. Another bomb, another kind of like utility option, just because now this deck mainly focuses more on its whole archetype of angels. There's been less and less reason to run other options, but this is still really good to have for sure, just in case in clutch situations you can make some fancy plays. Another one, of course, is still Mako. Mako helps you search. It also helps you gain memory when you play a 2-color purple or yellow Digimon, which is always fantastic. So it can help you increase your efficiency and consistency as well. Another really, really spicy one right here is actually Cody and TK. Now, you don't really play Armadillomon or Patamon with a start main phase effect at all. This tamer is really just there to utilize that when you digivolve into black or yellow Digimon, which usually you digivolve into your Angelwomon, or if you DNA into Mastemon, you can actually de-digivolve one on your opponent's Digimon. Now, the reason with the combo with that is because Mastemon usually lets you play a level 5. If their opponent has a level 6 on the board, you can spice things up by de-digivolving their level 6, turn it back to a level 5, and then when you play out the level 5 with the older Mastemon, you get to pop any level 5, meaning you get to get rid of the whole stack. So that's kind of like the fancy, kind of spicy combo that you guys can go for that as well, which is kind of fun. But yeah, that basically sums up for the tech cards. All right, combos and how to play the Mastemon deck. Let's start with the opening hand with cards that you want to see. Surprisingly, Salamon is your rookie, which usually what I say, having seen them is important, but it's actually not as important because these Salamons are actually more utilized when in the mid game when you have an established board instead, because they gain you memory and they kind of digivolve from the trash when you have stuff in there. But of course, if you have it, digivolve it into right away so that you can cycle a card, of course. But the card you really, really want to be seeing are actually your Gatomons. Your Gatomons, so that you can on-play them as soon as possible and search. The new Gatomon is fantastic. If you have Salamon in the back and you can digivolve, you know, always make sure that you're utilizing their when digivolving effects and not digivolving in the back, unless you have a board already established. But otherwise, hard playing these as much as possible to grab your pieces. The new Gatomon can search you for Mires. You need to see them early in the game. In the opening hand is fine, because you have the option to actually hard play them for the cost if you really need to. Otherwise, you want to continue to cycle through and find your Lady Devimons. Of course, both of them, and your Angelwomons. These are the cards that you want to continue to find and climb up as you go. But let's just say you go there, and let's start off with the new one, finding like a Mire. Now this is what I like to go into the pivot points of either going to Lady Devi or Angelwomon. If you have Angelwomon, it's very straightforward. You digivolve into it and you immediately get to play one of your Mires, because if you don't have one. If you have a Mire established already, sec -2 to one of your opponent's Digimon. That's really great. And then also, this Angelwomon is nice. It has barrier itself, so you can go ahead and swing at the opponent's security and not have to be worried about what to be deleted as much. Setting up level 5s as soon as possible on the board is your #1 priority, because that will immediately threaten the Blast DNA Ace against your opponent, which I mentioned, and you have to establish that as soon as possible. You have to tell your opponents that you are asserting dominance right here with either your Angelwomon or Lady Devimon. Now let's just say you don't have Angelwomon and you have Lady Devimon instead. This is the moments where I kind of would push out with my Salamon, and if I know I searched into a Mire earlier on, I would go ahead and chip away with it so I can draw and trash and actually pitch away one of the Mires that I actually want to play afterwards. So by pitching this Mire away, whether the Salamon gets deleted or not was totally fine. As long as I have a Gatomon, it's fine on the board because I can digivolve into the Lady Devimon. If I don't have a Mirai, get to play a Mirai out. If I have a Mirai, I get to pop a level 4 on the board. I generally like to prioritize the older Mirai first, just because it seems to be most value when it's 5 cost, so they don't have to pay that much memory. And by establishing this one first, you're constantly gaining memory back to back every turn. So in any situations that you have the Mirai set up earlier already, and then you Digivolve into Lady Devimon afterwards, you can suspend her to immediately then play out Angewomon, and then do the whole combo and immediately DNA if it's still your turn. This is why the old Gatomon is still really important, because the old Gatomon searches and grabs you a yellow and purple card, but also reducing their Digivolution cost by 2, effectively making them a 1 cost. So by establishing that and you're gaining this memory of Mirai, eventually that's when I would play the secondary one if possible. If you see having them both at the early stages of the game, that's how you want to plan out your turn and moving forwards and how you want to play the rest of the game. If you only see one of the other instead and not the other one, you can go ahead and play the new one right ahead, which is always great. Because if you ever do Digivolve into like this Lady Devi or Angewomon, if you do need to hard slam this Angewomon and you immediately want to suspend to gain a memory back and you want to DNA end of turn right away before you blast DNA or try to disrupt your opponents immediately on that board, this gives you access. As you guys can see, there's no end of turn DNA in the stack aside from the old Gatomon. You're losing a lot of that kind of effect, so having this new Mirai kind of fulfills that condition and keeps up that consistency so you can continue to DNA into your Mastemon. Now, like I mentioned earlier, that's when you want to blast DNA Digivolve. You sit here as a level 5. If your opponent attacks you and disrespects you, you then go into your Mastemon Ace by DNA, making sure that the yellow one's on top, or with Angewomon on top, specifically when you blast DNA Digivolving, you get to play something that's a level 5 from your hand or trash for free. By setting cards in your trash, ideally, I like to toss away the ALittleSpoon Chaos Mode because it's not really serving the most purpose when I'm hard playing it. 13 cost is a lot, but you're trying to play it by an effect, but you can't play it with this Mastemon. Keep in mind, angels related only. So therefore, you could play out a Lady Devimon here. You could play out one of these other ones to utilize their on-play effects. You send your opponent's Digimon back to the security at the bottom. And if they have 5 or more, you trash them all the way until they have 4 left. Sometimes you can even send your own Digimon to security if you really need to recover. But keep in mind, you still trash your opponents regardless if you send it to your own or your opponents as well. But by having another one, you do all the shenanigans and then they kind of get deleted or whatever, or you got removal, they try to attack with another one, they gotta respect you all over again, because if you have another Mastemon Ace in hand and another Angewomon to DNA with it to follow up, you're gaining so much value back to back to back to back. But this is how you really want to play it. That's mainly how you want to utilize this new Mastemon Ace. Of course, that's why you want to play the old one as well at the same time, because you don't always want to just rely on this one singular combo. You still want to make sure you have access into the older one, just because you can go for proactive plays. If you ever have 2 stacks brought out, you want to go ahead and DNA right here, Angewomon or Lady Devimon as well. This time with this one, you can return any level 5 as long as it's yellow or purple. So this means you can actually synergize with this ALittleSpoon Chaos Mode, put it to top security, search your security, and then play something out. And you can actually play this one thanks to this effect, which is why the old one is still just as good. And once you play this one out on play, you force your opponent, they delete a Digimon or Tamer. If nothing's deleted, trash your security, recover one yourself, and then immediately, if it's still your turn, you can even alliance 2 checks alongside and go for really aggressive plays, which is always fantastic. And that's really it, really simple when it comes to this. Keep in mind, you can also still sometimes hard Digivolve for 4 costs into Mastemon. By doing so, you can still at least utilize some part of its when Digivolving effect to play a level 5 or lower, as long as it's Angel, and then you can kind of go for combos more from there too. And then last but not least, aside from Mastemon playing out your Angel stuff and ALittleSpoon, of course, always keep in mind, keep check of your opponent's security. If they have not too much left, you can even play this Black Gato so they can rush for an extra attack to finish it off as well if you can. But instead of just rushing down your opponent with Black Gato to finish for the game, sometimes in mid stages, you can still play out your other Gatomon because it's a holy beast, and because you played it, you can suspend Mirai to gain a memory back, and you then can Digivolve into a Lady Devi or even an Angewomon from the trash to reduce the cost by 1 as well. With this Gatomon right here, you can reduce it by basically for free, and you get into it and you get to repeat the whole combo all over again. Another really cool thing is, let's just say you have the 2 Mirais set up, essentially. The old one and the new one on the board. Let's just say you had this Gatomon already in the board. You can either hard play it this turn, suspend it to gain the memory back. You're likely gonna pass to your opponent, but that's totally fine. But then you get to then Digivolve into a Angewomon from your trash. And because then you did Digivolve into there, you can suspend this one, synergize with it, play out a Lady Devi, and then you can utilize the Gatomon's end of turn here or the Mirai's end of turn. If you had this Gatomon underneath instead, it wouldn't have that end of turn. So having this Mirai is super crucial. You can immediately then DNA into a Maste here if you want to. And then if you ever establish like 2 Mastes on the board, like I mentioned earlier, Ordinemon is always just fantastic. The DNA pop and wipe out your opponent's board and recover a ton of security. The more you take down, the better it is, and you get to reset the game just from that. And that's basically how you want to play Mastemon. I really like having the fact that it has blocker defense capabilities to sort of slow the game down for control and delete your opponent's stuff again and again. I love the new alliance so that you can go for extra security checks and actually finish game to go wide and also take them down as quickly as possible. And that's basically how you want to play it. Be sure to watch this gameplay video right here, right now to see the deck in action and learn how to play it as we blast DNA Digivolve against the opponents. As always, thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video. And this is AVAULT signing out.